Hello and welcome to Library Connection. I'm Mandy Cantrell, Youth Services Director at the B.B. Comer Memorial Library here in Sylacauga. Before I get started, I want to thank TV47 for allowing us the chance to put our program on the air so you'll know about things going on in the community, things going on at the library, things related to the library. Today we're talking about something we don't like to think about during the Christmas season, I guess, and that is a little bit about depression or people being sad, having the blues during the Christmas time. And Mark Ledbetter is joining me today. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for letting me come.
Great, great. Well, tell us about yourself so we'll know why you and I can talk about this particular subject.
Okay, well, I'm a resident here in Sylacauga. I've been married to my wife for 45 years.
That's wonderful.
I have 4 children, 5 grandchildren, pastored for 28 years.
Okay.
I have been serving as a chaplain for the last 13 years. I have a background in crisis intervention.
Okay.
I have a background in mental health issues, but as a chaplain, I'm more of a triage than I am actually a counselor. I serve as bereavement coordinator for Southern Care and New Beacon Hospice here in Sylacauga. So therefore, this holiday season, we send out a letter for all those who've lost loved ones. And this is their first Christmas season without their loved ones. So background is I'm a chaplain with the Sylacauga Police Department. I'm Deputy Reserve Chaplain with Talladega County Sheriff's Office. And I have responded on occasions to disaster response and encountered people in moments of grief. But like I said, mine is more triage. I try to assess the issue, and then if there are issues I think that the individual or individuals need to have explored more in depth, that they should go to a trained clinician for the proper diagnosis if it's depression.
Well, that is a triage is a great way to describe that, because you're easy to talk to, I'm sure, and you can help people sort out where they need to go.
And you're trying to mitigate the mental, emotional, and spiritual issues that may arise so that you can at least maybe hopefully get a assessment, then pass them to those that I think are probably more trained than I am.
Tell them who to contact or what type of counselor or therapist they need to know, because sometimes we don't know.
Physicians are good, psychiatrists, counselors, trained social workers, depending on what your circumstances and background is, what your needs are. Primary doctors can assist and recommend a good psychologist, psychiatrist, someone who is trained indeed to diagnose, because the diagnosis is not easily diagnosed. You have to have certain symptoms for at least 2 weeks, and then they're able to make the assessments from that, because just because you're feeling bad and blues does not mean you're depressed, according to definition.
Well, that was my next question. What is depression versus just being in a depressed mood?
Well, a lot of times we use the word depressed very loosely to describe what we call the blues, or my mom would say down in the dumps,
right?
or other what we call short-term depressive moods. The blues, the sadness that we experience can have symptoms that parallel clinical depression, but they're just short-termed. And you can come out of it and you snap out of it, and although you have those symptoms, if you don't have a long term, then you're not really depressed, you're sad. Grief is not depression. Depression can be part of your grieving process. Like anger and other emotions, denial, those are different issues in grief, but depression can be a manifestation, but not always, or they can be sad for a short time, even the loss of loved ones, and they begin to recuperate through the grieving process. So depression has the effect of debilitating normal function in life. Your cognitive skills, your ability to think, to reason, withdrawal, isolation, and if these things persist for at least 2 weeks, and the clinician therefore is in a position to diagnose the individuals having a mood disorder.
Okay.
And it's one of several mood disorders. You can have anxiety disorder, and sometimes these two run hand in hand, not always. So depression, though, the short version is you're debilitated, you can't function at work, school, you have trouble concentrating, you become withdrawn, and those are just generalities when it comes to symptoms of depression.
Okay. Not just a bad day, but several, like you said, 2 weeks or something like that. What are some of the causes of depression or those times?
Well, what they have discovered is that certain brain damages, maybe vascular issues. I was relieved when I went to a neurologist here some back because my dad had Lewy body dementia and I was having some issues. So I went to a neurologist that did an MRI and he said, I got good news, no brain shrinkage, no vascular, no vascular issues, and no symptoms of Parkinson's. When I was concerned about that, but come to find out it was my medication.
Oh, wow.
Which I'll throw in, medication can be a cause sometimes.
It can be.
Certain medication can be a cause. We find that brain chemistry, things that affect the way the brain functions in that which determines mood. Okay. It can have an impact on depression and things of that nature. Hormonal changes can make a difference. We find this especially in teens.
Oh, I'm sure.
A lot of times it goes undiagnosed because they think, well, they're having an issue.
Just
it
think
could
they're a
be
moody
that their
teenager,
hormones are causing them to be depressed. Women going through menopause, postpartum blues, as we call them, other issues, inherited traits. People who have blood relatives who have a history of depression can be subject to it. And then there's what's called seasonal depression, in which we look at now. Because we go into the season, there's several contributors to this. A lot of it is the lack of sunshine.
Right, the days are shorter.
Days are shorter. It's more prevalent in the northern part of our hemisphere, especially in Alaska.
Oh, yes.
That part of the world. It's more prevalent in women than in men. 4 times is more.
Goodness.
In why, we don't know, because there's no exact science that tell us why. It's just there's several contributing factors that can contribute to depression. So, this absence of what we call vitamin D, which I've learned is not really a vitamin, it's a hormone.
Oh, okay.
And it's affected by the sunlight. And so you can, I think, take supplements, but these are the major causes. But it all is affecting our mood, altering moods in our brain.
Wow. Well, I tell you, we're going to pause for a commercial break and we'll come back and talk some more about that and some things we can do maybe to help that.
Okay.
So I hope you'll join us after the break.
All right.
Hot under the collar because your basement is full of water? Call a local company you can trust. Ox Foundation Solutions. We use the most advanced water management system to stop water from invading your basement for good. Things feeling a little uneven at home? Ox Foundation Solutions will fix your uneven concrete sidewalk, driveway, or basement in no time. Ox Foundation Solutions has the best plan to keep your home safe. If you are experiencing any issues with your sidewalks, basement, crawl space, or foundation, get a free estimate from Ox Foundations.
Coosa Valley Medical Center, one of the top 10 hospitals in Alabama, is also Silicaga's largest employer. Services from the emergency room to surgery to cancer treatment to post-stroke care. You won't believe what's right in your backyard. It's Coosa Valley Medical Center in Silicaga. So, if you're sick in Alabama, choose one of the top 10 hospitals in Alabama. That is Coosa Valley Medical Center.
Marble City Pharmacy in Silicaga is your destination for the highest quality health care. Our knowledgeable pharmacists are always available for questions about your medications or advice on taking over-the-counter products and supplements. Our friendly staff can assist you in choosing from our full lines of compression hose and medical equipment. And don't forget our gift department. We have a great selection of unique gifts for every occasion. Stop by and see us today. Marble City Pharmacy, here for life.
Welcome back to Library Connection. I'm talking with Mark Ledbetter, and we're talking about depression, and we ended kind of with talking about seasonal depression. During this time, we talked about the shorter days, lack of sunlight. It's gloomy outside a lot. It's cold. People are inside. And what about Christmas? A lot of times,
you know, it's kind of a paradox. We have a season of joy and festivity and activity, but not everyone can enjoy those things. Maybe because of loneliness. It might be separation. Maybe the first year with the long-term spouse is no longer with them. This feeling of isolation, pressure. We put a tremendous amount of pressure on ourselves because of the commercialization. And I'm just pointing out fact, not
right. That's true. I think
commentary.
We do. That's right.
The pressure to find the perfect gift.
Yes.
Exceeding our budgets. A host of stressors. Even preparing at our house, we have everybody come in. I have everybody under one roof. All my children and grandchildren, and my wife's in there. She's cooking. She wants to know what everybody's favorite is and what we'll have, and you know, just getting it right. Coordinated with other in-laws.
Right. Oh, yes, yes, all of that.
You never had that problem, huh?
Well, no. We are now. One of my daughters is married, and we're working everything out. But it just throws a little bit more of a kink in there for all of us.
And for us, it's finding a time when everyone's off. I have 3 sons in law enforcement.
Oh goodness, yeah.
And so finding a time where they're all off on the same day is hit and miss sometimes.
It's about learning to be flexible, isn't it?
It is. So we're having our gathering the Sunday before. So you have to have some flexibility. You don't need to have unrealistic expectations.
Right.
Some people have problems because they are nostalgic.
Oh.
And you know, we had a little discussion Friday night with a group about family traditions growing up as children. And you can have positive and negative experiences that can cause, the negative experiences can cause you to have anxiety or sadness. You're trying to recapture a tradition that's just not going to happen, especially if you lost a loved one. So these holiday blues can persist through the holiday season, but if they persist, throughout and beyond the holiday season, it might be time for you to go check it out with some professional.
What kind of symptoms could we look for in ourselves or in our friends or family that might let us know?
They break it down into 4 categories. One is emotional. You have sadness, you have anxiety, guilt, anger, mood swings, emotional, lack of emotional response. A lot of times our symptoms feeling helpless or hopeless, even irritable. You know, that's why it's hard, because people can have sadness and have the same symptoms and not be depressed. But also thoughts, self-criticism, blame, worry, pessimism, even memory loss, sudden lack of concentration. And the worst thing is thoughts of death or suicide. That's the extreme cases. Behavior can be irrational behavior at times, withdrawal, neglecting responsibilities. If your child is in the habit of doing certain things and are not doing it like they are accustomed to doing it, that might be, hey, what's going on with my child? There's a sign. Loss of interest in personal appearances. Things like that. Motivation, they're slowed. You can actually tell when people are depressed because they slow down. They just don't have the energy, the fatigue. They have sleeping disorder. They can sleep too much or not enough. Eating, not eating enough or overeating. So you have that spectrum that can be the changes physically. You can have associated with eating weight loss or weight gain. You can have headaches, have loss of sexual desires, and women can experience irregular menstrual cycles. So all these are symptoms, you know, and there's such a host
There's a
of
lot.
symptoms, you know, so that's
Yes.
why it's so hard to diagnose. So if you notice you're having these symptoms and it's prolonged, I think each of us, as I've said, go through depressive moods.
Sure.
And one of the good things about studying this is I learned I'm not depressed.
Good.
I go through depressive moods because I can snap out of it.
Right.
I can come out of it 2-3 days, I'm over whatever it is affecting me. But if you have these persistent symptoms emotionally and your thoughts, and especially if it's self-criticism, if you know someone's all the time criticizing themselves and
Right.
self-blame, you know, be a good friend and say, hey, listen, and then say, maybe you need to go talk to someone.
Right. Well, that's good to have
So,
somebody to see it
yeah.
from another outside of the, you know, someone else to see
Right.
it. What are some things we can do? I know you need to go. We need to go seek help. But what are some things that we can do ourselves to help
First,
with depression?
if it's diagnosed, they're going to recommend medications
Sure.
and probably psychotherapy or counseling.
Okay.
But there are certain things that I have learned that actually can serve to help prevent depression.
That's great. If you know you might get depressed during the holidays or anytime.
Right, and of course some of them are not going to like. I mean, proper diet, especially in the holidays. The high carbs, send us off on these tangents. But proper diet, eating the proper foods, eating exercise. If you can just increase your exercise to 35 minutes a day,
Really, yeah.
or maybe 4 days a week. It doesn't have to be long. It doesn't have to be, you can have intense exercise like aerobics, or it can be low intensity, yoga, yogurt. That's a good food to eat. It's fermented food. That's good. That's good for your brain.
All of it.
Stretching, anything you can do to get out of the chair, off the couch, walking in the sunshine, bundle up.
All right.
On these cold mornings, just bundle up and get out in the sunshine for 20
That's
minutes.
True.
These type of things we can do, and it is what recent research is indicating is these things can help prevent depressive episodes. There always could be triggers. Triggers if a person has a depression diagnosis as depression, chances are they'll have another episode somewhere down the line. But you can do these things and help ward that off. To fight off that depression is very important. And like I said, we're against exercising a lot of times. We don't want to eat the right food, especially in the holidays. Who wants to eat right in the holidays?
I want to eat cake.
You want cake, pie, cookies. My wife cooks a recipe for cinnamon rolls, goes back to my great-grandmother.
Oh, well, you got to have them, though, during the holidays.
So if you're going to do that, you need to, okay, if I'm eating this, I'm not eating that. Those type of things. A lot of it's really, I guess you may call common sense, but sometimes that flies out the window during the holidays.
And sometimes it's hard to do, but it's something if you just have to make time for.
Well, you have to.
Walking outside at a gym or something. That's great.
You know, it seems too simple and too profound at the same time. Just do what you need to do. If it's really important to you, you're going to make changes. Changes are not hard. The transition is hard.
Right, yeah, that's
Getting
true.
up early.
Oh, yes, to work
Instead of
out.
getting up at certain such time, the transition of getting up early so you can get your exercise in is difficult, or rearranging your schedule.
And I would think if you have a friend or family member, maybe you could volunteer to get up early with them. I know that would probably help me to have a buddy to do it
my wife and I
with me.
get up at 4 o'clock.
Ooh.
And still manage to get 6-7 hours sleep in, which is another component.
Oh, so,
You need at least 7 to 8 hours sleep. I know that sometimes it's hard. Swing shift is hard. Other issues, if you have young children, that can be hard. But maximizing your sleep habits can also be a preventive, because the brain is flushing itself while you're getting a good flow of sleep. I
Right.
forget what they call it now, but
Oh, sleep is so important, I
Yeah.
think. Well, we're going to pause for another commercial break, and we'll be right back to talk some more with Mark.
Hot under the collar because your basement is full of water? Call a local company you can trust. Ox Foundation Solutions. We use the most advanced water management system to stop water from invading your basement for good. Things feeling a little uneven at home? Ox Foundation Solutions will fix your uneven concrete sidewalk, driveway, or basement in no time. Ox Foundation Solutions has the best plan to keep your home safe. If you are experiencing any issues with your sidewalks, basement, crawl space, or foundation, get a free estimate from Ox Foundations.
Coosa Valley Medical Center, one of the top 10 hospitals in Alabama, is also Silicaga's largest employer. Services from the emergency room to surgery to cancer treatment to post-stroke care. You won't believe what's right in your backyard. It's Coosa Valley Medical Center in Silicaga. So, if you're sick in Alabama, choose one of the top 10 hospitals in Alabama. That is Coosa Valley Medical Center.
Marble City Pharmacy in Silicaga is your destination for the highest quality health care. Our knowledgeable pharmacists are always available for questions about your medications or advice on taking over-the-counter products and supplements. Our friendly staff can assist you in choosing from our full lines of compression hose and medical equipment. And don't forget our gift department. We have a great selection of unique gifts for every occasion. Stop by and see us today. Marble City Pharmacy, here for life.
Welcome back to Library Connection. I'm talking with Mark Ledbetter. We're talking about depression during the holidays, how to help with that, how to prevent that. And I just wanted to throw out, we have several books at the library. This is Monochrome Days, a first-hand account of one teenager's experience with depression. Then a book just on depression, some of the symptoms and things, and breaking the patterns of depression. Now, these don't take the place of going to see a physician or someone, but it is good, especially if you have a friend maybe or something, just to read about it, to see just a little bit more information. So we have, and I just brought 3 books. We have several more, but just to look at if you're not really sure what you're going through or what a friend or a family member is going through. These are good resources. One other thing I wanted to ask you is, in the news lately, we've had, when Cupcake, her death, and Anaya Blanchard, and then Big John, Sheriff Williams, not too far from here, who was killed. Sometimes I see all that stuff in the news, and it makes me very sad. And how does that affect us, especially during the holidays, I guess, or any time?
it's unfortunate that we have had several incidents here in the last few months that have been shocking to the community,
Yes.
disturbing to the community. The United States, Americans have gone through a series of episodes that could trigger depression if people allow themselves to reflect and meditate and prolong their thoughts on it. We just went through remembering Pearl Harbor Day. We have that incident that lives in infamy that parallels with 9/11.
Yes.
But generally speaking, only those who are diagnosed with depression, if they let that trigger it, that can trigger it. But when we're talking about depression, we're only talking about a very, and I'm not trying to minimize the
Right.
severity of it, but we're talking only about 16% of Americans who
Okay.
ever are reported as having clinical depression. Again, it goes back, we all have to go through moods, and we see these events, we'll get angry, and we'll get excited and vocalize and vent, and we can be sad at these events, but we don't need to reflect and meditate and let it grip us to the point where it debilitates us.
Right, okay.
Given my background as a law enforcement chaplain, of course, it makes me very sad because this past weekend we lost 3 law enforcement officers, one in Alabama and one in Arkansas, and I think one in Texas.
Houston, yes. I read about
You know, so from my perspective, okay, we put it in perspective, from my perspective, that makes me very sad. It makes me a little angry too, but it makes
Right.
me sad. But I'm not going to dwell on it. What I'm going to do, I'm going to rise up and I'm going to remind police officers no such things, routine call, routine
Right.
stop. And they probably get tired of me saying that. But
We all
especially
need
my
to
three
hear that.
sons who are law enforcement. But I remind them that. But it helps you to remember, so hopefully it won't happen again. That's one of the reasons they have the Holocaust Memorial.
Yes.
Memory is never again. And so it helps to reflect. It's part of who we are.
Right.
It's part of our
It's
story,
It's our history.
our history. So we can't deny that part. We can address it and go on with it, but not let it debilitate us.
Right.
And if you're a good friend of someone, you need to develop an empathetic ear.
Okay.
Listen, but don't talk.
Oh, that's so hard
And
sometimes.
don't, unless you're a trained clinician, don't offer advice other than, you know, maybe it'll help you to go see somebody.
Right.
That would be the best advice to give to someone if you know they're going through depression, is listen to them, encourage them, but mostly encourage them to seek help.
That's great, because so many times, I guess, women maybe especially, I want to fix that. I want to fix that, but
Yes.
but just listening is a great thing. Well, we've got a couple of minutes left. Do you find depression affects men, women, seniors, teens more? I know in all those areas, children, but more than the other?
There's no demographic where one experiences more than the other.
Oh, okay.
It is basically the same. We are seeing some indications that it's rising among teens and children. Again, it goes back to diagnosis. A lot of times we will look at teenagers and just, oh, they're going through the growth spurts and they're contrary and
They're moody.
No, I know because I raised four.
Oh, yes, you do.
You know, but sometimes if we just ignore that, and maybe we need to pay attention more to our kids, what they're going through.
That's true.
We're seeing it more and more in younger children, but it's usually attributed to dysfunction in the family or abuse.
Oh,
So, but demographically, the only people group that we have that suffers less than anyone else are Asians.
oh, huh.
But
It's
our
everywhere.
black community is about 9%, Hispanic about 8%, and the white community is about 7 or more percent.
Right there.
So it's kind of across the board. Seniors are not depressed because they're growing old, but they get depressed because of health issues and things like that. Aging has an indirect. Just because you get old doesn't mean you get depressed. More women than men,
Okay.
generally speaking. We went over that, and but they all have the same symptoms. The age groups might be different, but
Well, this has been very informative. I thank you very much for coming and for all the symptoms. And I think from what I know, one thing I've learned from this is that I need to eat better and start walking.
Absolutely.
We all need to. That seems to help everything. But thank you so much for joining me, Mark. And I
Thank
hope
you.
you all have a
Thank
wonderful
you.
Christmas.
have a Merry Christmas.